Happy Easter, everyone. And in a special way to our friends joining us in the overflow crowd in our hall today, we're so glad that you're here and worshiping with us. Today we also remember in a special way our brothers and sisters in the Holy Land who cannot gather to celebrate Easter, sadly, in some of the holiest places on earth because of war. May the power of the risen Christ protect them and bring them peace. There is a Christian greeting that we use to celebrate Easter, which I usually begin my homily with every year, and that is somebody says, "Christ is risen, alleluia," and the other person responds, "Christ is truly risen, alleluia, alleluia." So let's try that. Christ is risen, alleluia. It's a great way to greet one another today on Easter and throughout this Easter season, how blessed we are to be able to gather and celebrate this beautiful solemnity of Jesus Christ rising from the dead. During Lent, one of the things that I gave up was Facebook, and it was very hard because I'm so used to going and checking it all the time. And I did well overall, but there were a few times that I gave into temptation and went and checked it. One of those times I saw videos of a person who was going around asking random people, "Do you believe in Jesus Christ?" And these were people on the street, in the grocery store, everywhere. "Do you believe in Jesus Christ?" And some of them said no, very outrightly. Most of them were like, "Get out of here, I'm not talking to you right now." There's a camera in their face. And to be fair, it's very jarring. Someone comes up to you, starts asking you questions, and they're recording it. But a few people, though they were caught off guard and they had to think for a moment, a few people said, "Yes, absolutely." And you know what? There was a noticeable difference on their faces. Their demeanor was completely different from the others. And the video then took a very positive turn. The others who said, "No, get out of here," when they were asked, "Do you believe in Jesus Christ?" they looked like they were in a mood. But the ones who said yes, they looked joyful and they appeared to be at peace. They didn't care if they appeared to be silly or caught off guard in this particular instance. We should ask ourselves today, how would we respond in the same situation? Do you believe in Jesus Christ? Somebody random off the street asks us that, maybe even recording us. How would we respond? Let's keep that in mind and we'll come back to that. Today we celebrate Jesus Christ rising from the dead. And the gospel, according to John that we just heard, gives us all the details. Who came to the tomb, what they saw, how they reacted. And the gospel gives us these details to make a point. And that point is, this happened. These are the people who were there. This is what they saw. This is how they reacted. Christ actually rose from the dead. The Apostle Peter unpacks this amazing happening in our first reading today from the Acts of the Apostles. Peter says, "They put Jesus to death by hanging him on a tree. This man God raised on the third day, and everyone who believes in him will receive forgiveness of sins and life everlasting." St. Paul tells us what all this means for us in our second reading. We who have died and were raised with Christ in baptism, Paul tells us now we have to seek what is above. We have to live lives transformed by the resurrection. What does that look like? Here's one example I came across recently that I thought was very interesting. In 2011, a woman named Sarah Schultz helped the Ohio State Buckeyes to the 3 Big Ten titles. She's 6'1", my size, but clearly much better at basketball. Growing up, she said that playing sports was her life. But during her freshman year in college at Ohio State, something else, or rather someone else, started to become her life. She kept searching for truth and meaning, and that led her deeper into prayer and the sacraments, and that brought her closer to Jesus. She said, I quote, "I fell in love with Jesus. And that moved her to give up her dream of playing basketball professionally, of getting married and having a family, because she then heard a call to the consecrated life. Now she is Sister Xavier of the Sisters of St. Francis of the Martyr St. George. And to this day, she attributes her pursuit of virtue in the Christian life to the solid foundation that playing sports had provided for her earlier. Now, that story might seem crazy to some. Who would do that? Who would give up all of that future and career ahead of her? But that's what living a life transformed by the resurrection looks like. Not necessarily being called to the priesthood or consecrated life, but hopefully some more. But all of us, in all walks of life, searching for truth like she did, focusing on what matters, there we go, going deeper, working hard and making sacrifices like she already was in sports, surrendering and persevering. Many of us do these things in all the various other areas of our lives, like sports and work and school and recreation, but do we do them when it comes to living the Christian life? Are our lives testaments that we've been transformed by the resurrection of Jesus Christ from the dead? Something incredible is happening right now. By the grace of God, there seems to be what is being called a Catholic convert boom. The New York Times recently published an article entitled, "Roman Catholic Churches See a Surge of New Converts." All over the world, this past year, and maybe the year before, there are record numbers of people entering the Catholic Church at Easter. For example, 8,598 people in the Archdiocese of Los Angeles, 21,386 people in France. In some places, they are experiencing the highest numbers they have ever seen of people entering the church at Easter. At Sacred Heart and Divine Mercy, we are too. 7 people were baptized last night and confirmed and received the Eucharist at the Easter Vigil. 3 more will do the same in the weeks ahead. 9 people are of other faiths, and they're entering the full communion of the Catholic Church from our parishes on Pentecost. 14 people are already Catholic, but they're completing their initiation with confirmation on Pentecost. And we already have 9 people in the program for next year. If you are coming back to the church today or you're here for the first time, welcome. We're so glad that you're here. What's causing this return to faith, this Catholic convert boom? Possibly a number of things. There's the influence of Catholic podcasts and social media. Think of the Bible in a Year, which was the #1 podcast for a long time. There is the fruit of various efforts in the recent past. A couple of years ago, there was a national Eucharistic revival because of the lack of belief in the presence of Jesus in the Eucharist. And last year, 2025, was a Jubilee year. And hundreds of thousands, millions of people went to Rome for pilgrimages. And there's young people wanting stability in a world that doesn't provide that and searching for something more. Whatever it is, it all goes back to what we celebrate today. Jesus Christ risen from the dead. Sin and death no longer have power over us. Life reigns. The question, though, is does your life, does my life look like this? Look like a life transformed by the resurrection? If someone came up to you or me on the street asking, "Do you believe in Jesus Christ?" while recording us, would we care if we felt silly or awkward? What would we say? What would our demeanor be? Would we appear joyful and at peace? Or like most people, annoyed, angry, maybe afraid? When the people in those videos I watched said that they did believe in Jesus Christ, they were asked one more follow-up question. They were asked, "What's one thing you would tell the world about him?" Today as a church, we have the answer, and that is Christ is risen. Christ is truly risen, and the power of his resurrection and all that it brings has transformed and changed our lives.